County Handicap Hurdle. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you're subscribed. We are doing the handicaps in this preview, but on Sunday, the 9th of March, we'll be going live with a live preview where we'll cover every single race for every single day. Not as much depth in a lot of the graded races because nothing more will need to be said, but these handicaps, when we do get final decks, or at least on the Sunday, we've got a good idea of where horses are going, we'll have a bit more of a concrete opinion. But for the County Hurdle this year, Will, we've got a bit of an idea of who might come here and what are the likely types to go and win here. Willie Mullins and Dan Skelton have got 9 of the last 10 between them, so that's always a good place to start. And Kopek Demi gets his next mention for the preview. The fact that he's been well supported, it's based on the fact that it seemingly is going to get in off of a relatively light mark, and he's the fly in the ointment with the new rule changes that he's 5 runs and he's been bought to win a race at the Cheltenham Festival. I would say, when I've touched on it with the Coral Cup, I'd say this is the least likely race that he would come in my opinion. I think he wants the Martin Pipe as his preference. Coral Cup would be second choice, and then County would be this one, but I could well be wrong. McClory's head in the market after winning at the Dublin Race Festival, and Mark Walsh decided to make way rather than meet of the waters where Rachel Blackmore rode, and Mark Walsh could have ridden that, and I should have known, but I'm over that now. You've got Absurd that won the race last year. Paul Townend, I think it was his only ride in a handicap last year, but Absurd's in it. Ethical Diamond of the same connections and of the same sort of mould. People are talking about that as the profile horse for this, is in it for Willie Mullins. Carnaque, that both of us had an inkling could be a Martin Pipe type horse. Although he was 144, he might have still got in, but they didn't even enter him for the Martin Pipe. No. That's how certain they are that Kopek Demi wins that race. But he's semi-interested in here because Storm Heart for Gigginstown hasn't been entered and looked like a horse that people would talk about might be. Even Patrick Mullins mentioned him, so I don't know if he's met with a setback. But that's me mentioning the majority of the Willie Mullins-y types horses. It's going to be difficult when it comes to this race if we're fancying a Willie Mullins horse to not know the jockey bookings, essentially, because if Paul Townend picks a horse, it's going to be the most likely winner of the race, I guess. But with that said, Absurd still went off a fair price for the race last year. Lots of people talk about probably being ground dependent and things like that. So where they are fairly defensively priced now, like it's 10-1 top price Absurd, but that's not non-runner money back. I think Nines is the best non-runner money back. You could probably sit and wait for the County Hurdle if you wanted to back the winner, couldn't you, Will? Or is there one that's an outlier that doesn't form Willie Mullins or Dan Skelton mould that we should be getting on this early on?
No, I can't see any of that particular ilk. I can see plenty of likely types towards the top of the market, actually, that obviously Kopek Demi, you've spoken plenty about him, don't need to add too much more. McClory might well go to the Moor Battle Hurdle, although the same owner has Joyous in that, so remains to be seen. Obviously Absurd, last year's winner, Ethical Diamond, in the same colours. They're all of interest. Carnaque, yeah, definitely of interest. Would have preferred him up in trip. I wonder if that's something they have in mind further down the line, maybe for Fairy House or Punchestown or Aintree, perhaps with him. I think if I could sort of suggest, I mean, it's not suggest a bet right now, but if I knew she was this price right here, right now, that she is 5-6 places come the off time, then Carjaysi, I think, has to be of real interest. She obviously has the Mayor's Hurdle entry, but you'd think maybe with what Jay de Grugy did the other day, that's going to be Kenny Alexander's main one in the Mayor's Hurdle. And I know a lot of people would have been really disappointed that Carjaysi was beaten by Take No Chances in that Grade 2 at Ascot. But as you said, Take No Chances on her day is a very, very good horse. Carjaysi was having her first start of the season. She was keen. She was held up in a race not run to suit. It was on ground livelier than she would have liked. So I think that could be a really nice run for her to put her spot on for this at Cheltenham. I mean, you look at, she's got a mark in Ireland of 139 on the back of what she did at Ascot. And that should be where the UK handicapper has her, because the UK handicapper has given Take No Chances 140. And you think of Carjaysi finishing within a length and a half of Majborough, within 3 lengths of Sagino, and is now in the high 130s. You know, if those horses were running in here off mid 140s marks, they'd be going off 6-4, wouldn't they? So, I mean, it all depends on how she's come on from that Ascot run. But for me, she looks the best handicapped horse in the race.
Ooh. She's 8-1 non-runner money back for the purpose of this, because obviously, like we're saying there, that if you were to have a bet now, there's a chance that she still goes for the mares.
Yeah.
I mean, she could go off shorter than that, couldn't she? Oh, I'm tempted.
Yeah, it all depends on what turns up and what Millie Mullins runs and what Paul Townend rides.
But she's definitely in there. I think with this race, I can't remember the price of the top bet. I could probably pick him up, but even like Stateman when he won this one off 6-1 or something, didn't he? Or maybe 7-2, he got backed into at the end. But I just mean that as much as we want to try and get the price, the fear of missing out doesn't need to be as real. I know I like the way you think he got smashed up, but in a race like a County of the Friday, it's Gold Cup day. There's liquidity in the markets, and the bookies want to take a bit of a bet. You don't necessarily have to rush to do stuff. I saw she was 12-1 top price. If she'd have been 12-1 non-runner money back, I'd have been tempted to maybe think she's worth holding a bet. But when 8-1, it's negligible. But I like that one. I did look at her entry as well, to be honest with you, Will, and I didn't want to mention it because I thought she would be Mares Hurdle bound. But the case behind Masborough and Sagino and the fact of her rating screams out, doesn't it? That this could be a good opportunity.
I think for a keen horse like she is, to go over 2.5 miles in what might be a smaller field, as opposed to a County which is going to be run at a breakneck tempo over 3 furlongs shorter, to me it's a no-brainer in terms of which race is going to settle her best and which is going to suit her best. To me, I might. Well,
let's hope she goes then, Will, and then we can get us stuck in the play spot, and then we can work our way through Gold Cup Day. Happy days.